In the previous lesson, I showed you how to import a floor plan from AutoCAD. In this lesson, we will start creating the 3D model of the house. At first, we have to create walls. To create the walls, I will use the Push-Pull tool to add volume to the wall's surfaces. However, when you import a floor plan from AutoCAD, there are no surfaces created automatically. There are only lines, and the inner regions are empty spaces. So, before I begin adding volumes, I have to create surfaces. To create surfaces, I will activate the Line tool. Now all I have to do is create a line tracing the side of a wall. I will click to define the starting point and then click again to define the ending point. Once I define those 2 points, the surface is created automatically. In exactly the same way, I will continue creating surfaces for the rest of the walls. Once I have created all the surfaces I need, I will activate the Push-Pull tool and click on the first surface. Then I will move the cursor upward, type the number 3, and press Enter to define the height of the wall. I will continue to create the second wall, but this time I will click on the top edge of the first wall to define the height. As I mentioned in a previous lesson, the fastest way to define the same height with the last extrusion is to double-click on a surface. So, to create the rest of the walls, I will double-click on the rest of the surfaces. At this point, I want you to notice that the interior wall has a different color than the rest. The reason this happens is because the direction of the faces is opposite compared to the rest of the walls. To get a better picture of what this means, I will create a rectangle somewhere in the scene. Notice that the top face of the rectangle has a dark gray color, while the bottom face is a lighter shade of gray. To flip this rectangular surface, all I have to do is select it, right-click on it, and select Reverse Faces. And now you may wonder, does the direction of the faces play a major role in the final result? Well, when it comes to SketchUp, you shouldn't worry about the direction of the faces. However, if you import your model into another 3D modeling program, then there may be errors. Therefore, it is good practice for all surfaces to have the same direction. To fix the inner wall, I will click on the Undo button as many times as I need to remove the extrusion of this particular wall. Then, I will activate the Push-Pull tool, click on the surface, and drag the cursor upwards to add volume. Notice that, again, the extrusion's faces have a dark gray color. To change the direction of the faces, I will simply press the Ctrl key once, and the direction as well as the color will change automatically. Now, I will also type the number 3 and press Enter to define the height. In case I had moved on with the modeling a lot, it would be a hassle to undo all the progress of my work to correct the direction of a wall's faces. In this case, I could just select the faces, right-click on them, and select the Reverse Faces option.